Hello, hello. Welcome back. Blindsided Whitetails podcast. Today we're going to talk to Justin Budd. He's a Michigan local. He has a big buck killer. He has multiple bucks under his resume. He doesn't hunt public land, but he hunts, all his private pieces are by permission. So it's similar to something that anybody can do. Knock on doors, just go ask and they'll let you hunt it. He doesn't pay to lease or anything like that, so he just walks out, knocks on the door, gets permission. You'll listen in and hear some of them are kind of lucky, but mainly the guy knows what to do. He knows how to hunt, he knows how to access, he knows when to be in the stand. He's got experience. He's got several beautiful bucks on the ground in Michigan. I know a lot of you are going to say it's because it's private, but it's not leased. It's not managed land that he's managing. It's property that he's asking to hunt on, and he's getting permission. So something I can do, something you can do. But anyways, let's get into it, and you guys can hear from the man himself about what he does, how he gets on it. He's a dedicated, passionate bow hunter, and then we'll get right into it. But before that, I got to ask you guys, can you guys please do us a favor? If you like our content, do us a favor and subscribe to the channel. Give us a like, a follow on the podcast. Check out our Blindsided Whitetail pages on Instagram or Facebook. Do the same there. Lots of giveaways and lots of good content. So we'd appreciate it. Alrighty, we're going to dive right into our conversation with Justin now, and we thank you for listening.
Hello.
Hey, Justin, what's going on, man?
Good, how are you?
Doing fabulous. How you doing? You ready to do this thing or what?
Yeah. I'm walking outside of my work right now. So you going hunting tonight?
I'm hoping. My boys are going to go over to their mom's for the weekend, so that gives me a couple of days, but
Nice.
we're going to try to get out there.
Gonna be really nice.
That's what I'm seeing. So I'm probably going to be out from basically morning till dark, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty much going to do the same, but I have a couple hours. I got to get something done tomorrow in between, but.
It's a life,
Good.
man.
Well, all right. I'm in my truck with the speakers on, so shoot.
All right, man, we'll start it off with, we'll kind of talk about the deer you took just recently.
Okay.
We'll talk about what you did to set up, and then we'll kind of go in from there about what you did about getting access to the property and how you did it and stuff like that. Cool?
Well, that one is kind of funny because honestly I didn't even ask to get permission. They offered it.
Really?
They knew I hunted. Yeah, this one is a really good one to ask about just because it was just by chance.
That's luck.
Right. Man, just because my mom happened to just work with the lady's daughter, and they were talking about me one day about how much I bow hunt, and they basically said, "Well, have them come check our price. Who you want to hunt it?" Of course, I said yes. But shoot, I mean, it's been dumb chances a lot of times that I even get lucky and get property to hunt. Just a simple fact, like another property I hunt that's private, that's like 200 some odd acres.
Okay.
I hunted the 400 acres next door, or 200 some odd acres next door, and I shot a deer one year and I ran into his property like 3-4 years ago. I went and knocked on his door, asked permission to track. And he's like, "You want to use my property too?" Gave me permission to hunt his property.
Really?
It's just like dumb luck. And then I do have a good one for you. So chainsaw, guys were cutting, wood cutters. They don't give a damn about deer hunting. They're out there cutting in one of my favorite spots ever. I've always had permission to hunt since 12. They're out there cutting corn or cutting wood. And I just with frustrations, of course, I ended up getting down. I started talking to them, trying to figure out when they were going to be done cutting, this kind of stuff. They gave me a farmer's name and said, he has quite a bit of farms. I thought for him, maybe you could find a spot that we're not going to be at, talk to him. So they gave me his name. I went and talked to him, and wham, I ended up getting 2 different farms at 80 and 120 that day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't beat that. It's not. I think a lot of guys are more timid just to do it. They're afraid to go ask versus just going and doing it. They're afraid of that no.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and I
And you
think,
can't be scared of that no because you're going to get it more than you're going to hear yes.
well, right. And then there's so many opportunities out there. There's so many big parcels of land that aren't hunted that guys don't realize. So
Mm-hmm.
it's cool that
Mm-hmm.
you're doing that. So let's talk about this one you got. How'd it set up? I know you said it was the first time you went to the property, right?
It was the second day. I hunted the evening before.
Okay.
Um, are we recording now or?
Yeah. Go ahead. We're just gonna jump into it. So let's
Yeah,
talk
sure.
about what you did. Let's just go from the beginning. You walked into the property. Tell us about how you set up on it. Like first time on the property, the day before. What was the details? What'd you find?
Well, it's a long, skinny 20 acres that backs up to probably about 200 to 300 acres worth of woods. So
Okay.
a pretty big woodlot. But it L shapes off, and it's this long 20 acres. It's a horse field, so I kind of know the electric fence and kind of naturally funnels them over into that L shape. So I knew it was kind of almost like a natural funnel now because of the fence. Well, unnatural, but now a funnel. So I pinched them off by getting over into the skinnier part of the woods. I figured that'd be a good spot. I'd have 40 yards either way, either side of the tree stand in a major travel area. Could easily tell the travel area just by, the trails going through it, plus the rub lines that were, pretty impressive just on a bunch of maple trees and such. So I set up right dead smack in the center of that part of the woods that opens up in between two thickets, kind of on each edge of the woods.
Okay.
So, yeah, it basically gave me 40 yards shooting distance on each side of my tree stand. So I figured just not really knowing how the deer travel it too much yet and just going off my assumptions and what I kind of saw, I set up there and, and within that first night, I had deer walking around me. So I knew it was the right spot, basically the night ended. I went back in the morning, same thing, had deer going back and forth from the cornfields into the woods. And kind of center of the woods is huge and they're kind of traveling into that area. So, evening hunt, same thing. I sit in that tree stand, and there's this guy who leases the back property. So he's scaring the deer up. So I kind of used to him. They kind of curve him as well. I could see where his blinds were, and so I kind of set off to the trail that was going to veer away from him. And the deer kind of just were doing exactly what they thought they were, because he's been leasing there for a few years, I believe. He has blinds and stuff set up. He basically comes out from a far distance from the road where they can actually see him coming, but he drives his ATV, so he alerts all the deer that he's on his way out every time he hunts. He more or less scared this deer out of the corner of a woodlot right to me. So I got pretty lucky when I shot him. I did shoot him on a run, which was crazy, a 10-yard shot, but it's basically how I set up. But that's how I set up with most of my properties. When I get a new piece, I walk them, find all the way the deers are traveling and stuff, and look for funnels and pinch points in between bedding areas and food. And set up on those 9 out of 10 times, and it's been pretty good for me. I've been successful doing such.
What time was he moving? What was the time? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was at 4:37. Right after I shot him, I checked my phone there to see what time it was.
Early afternoon. That's good.
But 2 years before that, now I shot a deer, the nice 4-year-old 8-point, on another funnel that was connected between. So basically, if you put 4 squares together, all 4 corners meet there.
Mm-hmm.
So you got kitty corner from each other, 2 ag fields that kind of pinch there, with 2 woodlots that border and pinch there as well. So you got opposite of each other, kitty corner from each one. And I always knew that the deer kind of traveled back through those woodlots to that pinch point. So it's just again, I'm always looking for like the funnels and where cover pinches down to where deer will still try to travel through it just to stay in the cover and off the edges of the fields.
That's what the big bucks do. And you have a handful of them. Definitely do.
I've been pretty successful in Michigan.
How
I
did you...
have to get a whitetail outside of Michigan, to be honest with you.
Oh, you haven't?
Nope.
Have you hunted a lot outside of Michigan?
I've hunted in Florida. And that's pretty much it. Florida, yeah.
They got small deer down there.
Yeah, I never hunted for deer. There's hogs, just in the off season for fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of hogs down there for sure.
for sure.
So what got you into it? You said you were
Into
hunting
deer
when you were
hunting?
younger. So what was it, like a family thing? What pushed you into it? How did you like I guess how did you get to the point you are now? What transition? Was it just learning? Was it somebody teaching you? Just going out? Did you always hunt private from the get-go?
Yeah, I've always hunted private from the get go. What got me into it is, well, my grandfather, he was quite the hunter. Both my grandfathers were, so I took an interest in that just because I liked being around my grandfathers. So I kind of picked up an interest in fishing and hunting pretty early. Obviously, first fishing, but hunting came. I shot my first deer with a bow when I was 12 years old
That's awesome.
on opening day. Yeah, so I had to get a bow for my birthday or whatever. I can't remember gear for my birthday, but either way, I ended up getting a bow around that year. It's probably for my birthday, I don't remember. But I ended up getting out there, yeah, and I got a 5-point with my bow, and I was ecstatic, being a 12-year-old kid, walking out in the woods, shooting a deer, no one wanting to believe me when I come running up to the house trying to tell my brothers, and I remember my dad come out there, and we ended up finding my deer, and yeah, I was hooked ever since, 12 years old.
How'd you end up shooting it? Like, what was your setup?
Um, I basically hung my tree stand, and my tree stands at that age were probably only like 8 or 10 feet up in the air, and I thought it was doing something, but I was just a young deer and just a young kid out there having fun.
That's awesome. Very cool.
So
What
definitely fueled my passion.
That's what it is. Once the first time, not even shooting the first deer, you get that encounter with a good one, and either you get close to drawing back, or you don't even get drawn back, or you turn around, or you're like right there about to take it. I mean, that'll give you the bug. It's
well, yeah, because the first year I hunted, I didn't get a deer. See, I turned 12 November 7th, so I got to hunt for a little bit. Then gun season started. Back then, you couldn't hunt deer with a gun until you were 14.
Mm-hmm.
The rules have changed now, but so I only had a short season, and I had some encounters, and I was pretty excited. Couldn't wait for the next year, or whatever. And opening day, 12 years old, the next year, I shot my first deer, and then it wasn't shortly after the next year, I ended up getting one of my biggest bucks of my life still to this day at 14 with a shotgun.
Really? That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
it's been
So are
definitely
you?
fun. I've definitely.
I know most of the deer I've seen you shoot look like you've been bow hunting. Is that what you kind of stick to now? Is bow archery?
I strictly bow hunt. It seems like a gun. Everybody does it. It seems like every time gun season rolls around, the woods they go almost dead for like 3 weeks before you start to even see good deer movement again.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's not even fun to me anymore. I don't knock it. It's whatever. If someone's hunting with a gun, that's on them. That's what they choose to do. It's so
Mm-hmm.
fun. I just don't have as much fun as there's that a bow in my hand.
Yeah, it definitely changes it. The Michigan rut gun season is, I mean, that's why a lot of guys leave the state during rut to go hunt bow somewhere else. But it, like rut goes into a different type of lockdown when gun season starts.
And we have so much gun season now in Michigan too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean that's another reason. It's like a big problem with Michigan, in my opinion,
Yeah.
is that we have such lengthy gun seasons, and now that's like basically down here in the southern part of Michigan. I'm not sure everywhere in Michigan, but where I'm from, here in Eaton County, they allow guns now during regular, like 450s, shotguns, whatever, all the way through, like muzzleloader, and they have that late doe. So it's like these deer,
Yeah,
they don't get a break, it seems like. So
I just saw that change this year. That's crazy that they're doing that.
no, it was like that last year, I believe.
Oh,
And I know it was, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's the same this year.
So that
So it
okay.
just
So they
decimates the deer herd. I mean, it's pretty easy to go out there with a rifle, in my opinion, and shoot a deer at 300 yards.
I didn't know that they added the gun season through muzzleloader last year too. That's crazy.
Yep. It's definitely going to, if anything, I mean, we're obviously allowed $2 per state, so, I mean,
Right.
it's a lot easier for someone to fill 2 tags now when they're able to use a rifle that can shoot them 300 yards away,
Mm-hmm.
which our H class is already, already lacking.
Yeah, there's definitely a structure issue. It's kind of like a gap, or if you're on private, it's different. I know public can be. It's probably you got one mature buck to, I don't know, every 40.
Yeah, I believe private is probably worse, I'd say, off than for mature bucks than you would see on private. But then again, it's like here in the lower part of Michigan, I mean, we have all ag country, smaller woodlots, you know, ag country where it's a lot of open area. So, I mean, these deer step out, they can easily be seen in any field for hundreds of yards.
Yep.
So, I mean, just like when you get that and people are looking through a scope, you know, a side view of a 2-year-old 8-point, it looks like a big buck to them. They shoot it and they drop it, whatever.
Yeah, a lot of guys aren't even looking.
They're in there close, you get a way better look at the deer. You know what you're shooting. Less immature bucks and yearlings will be shot that way. But in Illinois, I mean, I think they have like a 4 or 5 day gun season. And their egg structure is obviously a lot better than ours. Plus, they're a 1-buck state, which seems like all the 1-buck states have a way better age class than Michigan.
Yeah, there's out of state. There's definitely a way different ratio.
Yep. Well, they do operate things a lot different.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it'll change here or not. I know they're here. It's hard to get on them, but they definitely do exist. What's give us got anything that was a challenge for in private land?
Well, I mean, I think it's a challenge for a lot of people. I mean, as a kid, we get excited, you know, with, like you said, an encounter with a deer. You know, that first 5-point had me shaking out of my tree. And he was just a 1.5-year-old. I mean, I passed those. Don't even know how many a year I pass on now. Well, back in the day, there wouldn't be a second thought. I would put an arrow or shot at it or whatever. It's just more or less, I stopped shooting small bucks. I started, you know, allowing the little ones to just walk by me. At first it was, you know, like, oh man, you second guess that. And you start, you know, passing those yearlings and you start seeing those, you know, 2-year-old 8-points and they get you excited. You might shoot one, you know, and feel good about it. But you start passing them and it gets easier and you start passing the bigger ones. And then, I mean, I passed up some nice ones. For example, like I passed up, or it's probably a 3.5-year-old 8-point last year. He's a pretty nice buck, you know. He's probably pushing the 130s. He passed him last year, and he's got pretty distinctive brow tines. They're really pointy and straight, and they're pretty decent size. You know, they're not short. They come off his head pretty well. And, he made it through. And a lot of people are, like, worried, you know, my neighbor's going to kill him. And I always say, well, that could be true. You know, your neighbor could kill him one of the deer you pass. And, I mean, it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. You can't get away from it. You're not the only one hunting in these woods. So, getting over that and knowing that, you know, some of these deer are going to die. It's going to happen. But some of them are definitely going to make it through. And the ones that, you know, you pass that make it through, I mean, that's all that matters, I guess. I mean, you shoot them, they're dead. If you let them go, they have a chance. Don't take the chance from them just because you're, you know, worried that someone else might take that opportunity from you.
The one thing I kind of also noticed is the older they get, once 3.5 it's a different breed of animal. Like, you're not hunting just deer at that point. They're
definitely smarter.
They're smarter. And the thing that I always tell guys is when you get a 3.5-year-old buck like that and you pass him, he made it 3.5 years. He knows what hunters are. He knows where to go to avoid them. He knows what's safe and what's not safe. So if you saw him or you had an encounter to kill him, you're one step ahead of everybody else.
No, I definitely had an encounter to kill him. I filmed him. It's funny because I was using, I believe in it so much, is Evercalm, and I definitely think that's helped me out in hunting, you know, these past few years.
How do you apply it?
Believe in it. But I use the liquid Evercalm, and it's kind of gross, but I have it in my tote, and I, like, sprinkle it all over my clothes and seal my tote back up, so it kind of just fumigates my whole outfit, I guess you'd say. And it was a really light wind that day when I passed that deer. He came in, he was about 6 yards, but he came in, stopped right downwind, he smelled me. It kind of freaked him out. He took like 3 steps backwards kind of deal and turned. But he, which is interesting because I learned something from it when I was passing him and filming at the same time, is he looked up in every tree in that corner because he knew something wasn't right. But he did eventually calm down, which was really cool. But he looked at every tree that could hold a hunter, that could hold a tree stand. He didn't just look up at me and silhouette me and try to. He did, but he didn't catch me. He didn't catch me moving. I stood still. I filmed him the whole time still, and he looked, and I thought he was staring me down. But then he put his head down, jerked his head right back up, and looked in a tree right next to me. He did that to 3 to 4 different trees, looking in there trying to catch movement of a hunter, which I thought was pretty interesting. But then he ended up going right back downwind, stopping for like 15, 20 seconds downwind of me in a corn that was standing next to me here on the corner of a cornfield in a woodlot. He ended up coming right out of the corn and just walking right in front of me, 15 yards. Broadside shot, calm as can be, and ended up just walking right out of my life for that year. You know? Yep. But he's definitely come back to the 10-point this year, and he's pushing all of 140 plus. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I emphasize with guys is the more deer you pass, the more you're going to learn. So if you don't pass those 2-year-olds or 2.5-year-olds or even younger bucks, you don't get to see what the older ones do. Like what you just explained about how he came through the cover, transitioned into the cover. Obviously, he's seen hunters before because he was trying to pick hunters out of trees as he was walking. So
I mean, and also just depending on your property, a lot of people, they get excited, they'll shoot that first decent 8-point and the first buck they see. But you just understand kind of the way deer bed in a sense. I mean, yeah, that big buck, he comes up on your camera on the field edge, you see him out of your scrapes right there at 9:30 at night, and it's dark. But you had the does come through right 20 minutes before light. You had younger bucks right behind them. Yep. That's because they stay on us and they listen. They're out there listening. They're understanding what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
You start creating commotion and shooting on stuff. You just educate them anyway. So they always step out at last light. It's not like they get out of their bed and run to the edge of the field, to get there right at last light or whatever. They're on their way there, but they're methodical with their moving. They're thinking. They're listening. They're slow moving.
Oh, yeah.
They're smart.
It's a total different breed, man. It's that's kind of what drives me for it. I mean, I enjoy that. It's not necessarily just killing the deer anymore. It's getting on one of those, and it's a chess game. Who's smarter? Yeah. Who's gonna get in the spot without getting busted, and can you outsmart that deer? And to me, even lately, just having an encounter with that, similar to you did, that's a win. I don't have to kill that deer. To me, that's hunting, and that's what I went out there to do. So.
Oh, I've had fun just showing off the video of passing nice deer. Cool, it's been awesome to have them all I want, but I mean, I have a chance honestly to get him this year with one of my buddies that hunt around me or something, and he's a lot better at a deer, and so I'm a lot happy with him. So, I mean, yeah, it is definitely a win.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And, I mean, just getting that, it's putting that in your belt and kind of saying, you know what, I can do this, especially seeing that, he's alive this year, alive and well, bigger, for 2 extra times. That's a win. I mean, I'm chasing a bigger deer now, and I had fun last year. I've already had a mature buck as well. It'd been a lot harder to pass that deer if I didn't already shoot a 4-year-old 10-point.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, again, you got to pass them younger 8-points and stuff to get those bigger deer. So
I'll make a couple points here.
Do it. Another thing I know that's like a big help for me is I have been hunting a lot of the areas that I hunt. I've hunted since I was younger. Since like up to 12, even as low as like my very first year, 12 years old. Even before that, my dad taking me out before I could hunt.
Yep.
I have a good relationship with the neighbors. There's no secrets there. I don't mind sharing any picture of a buck I got, and they send them right back to me. The ones they get. So we keep a good inventory, and
that's good.
It's nice to know. It's like, hey, I passed up on this buck, and then they're going to do the same thing just because they know you are. Everyone wants a big buck. I don't care what they say. You can't eat the horns. I'm a meat hunter. They're still out there. Those meat hunters and the I can eat the horn guys, they're still hoping for the biggest buck in the woods, just like I am. But you learn patience, as a virtue in hunting. You got to, be patient if you ever really want to shoot that big buck and do it consistently.
It's definitely mindset.
Luck is there for anyone, but consistency is a lot better than getting one every other year, every 10 years. Lucky.
Absolutely. One thing I wanted to talk about, you said Evercomb. So for everybody that's listening and doesn't know what Evercomb is, it's a scent. I guess it's more like a cover scent that a local Michigan company named Conquest makes. I think it's a fantastic cover scent. I've saved myself several different times. So for all of you that are wondering what he was talking about, check them out. It's some good stuff. They make like I think VS1 is their estrus scent, and it's a good company.
The running buck as well. I like that.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't used the running buck one. I just used I think I have a VS1 in the package still, and they come in different. They come in like wax tubes. They come in like a deodorant stick. You said you had the liquid one. I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, it's like a little plastic squeeze bottle. I prefer it.
Okay.
With the wax sticks, I put them on my muck boots. You wipe out your muck boots,
Yep.
and your muck boots end up being white. They kind of dries to a white color. So it's like, I know you've done it. I'm sure if you've had it.
Mm-hmm.
When you wipe the wax stick across the, your tree as you're sitting there, it's cover scent, so you want it to smell good, for the deer or whatever. And you're gonna wipe it around you, then it dries all the way.
Yep.
The liquid kind doesn't do that. I feel like it's more pure and it's not mixed anything, so you're gonna get a fresher, more stronger scent.
It's interesting. I'll have to check that out. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, and it's actually, I think, a couple dollars cheaper than the stick, but I could be wrong on that.
I'll have to look into that. I didn't know. I know the other two. I didn't know about I may have seen it. I just probably haven't looked into it.
For esters, though, I'm always using the Black Widow. For some reason, I've never, had a problem with that. And I've had a problem with, like, say, Buck Bomb. I've used Buck Bomb before, and I had, everyone tried it when it first came out. It was pretty cool, you'd think. I remember letting one out one day, and I had a deer come down the trail, and as soon as he hit that, where that Buck Bomb just coated the woods, it freaked him out, and he took off running. And I don't know if he smelled me or what, but I just have a feeling it was that Buck Bomb, the way he acted, sniffing on branches and stuff, that it coated him, because it just goes out in a mist like an aerosol. So I've always had great success with Black Widow.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys stick with the couple. Black Widow is one of them for sure.
Yeah, I like that one.
Very nice. So when you go into the woods now, I mean, obviously you pass, but what is do you have a criteria, or are you just out there? I mean, you're enjoying your time, but what are you looking for the deer? The next deer coming through that you're going to pull back on, what kind of criteria do you have set in your head?
Well, I mean, I definitely already shot a nice one, pretty big one. I believe, from what I understand right now, it could be possibly the biggest typical buck so far taken out of Inyo County this year. So, I mean, it's like I don't have any interest in shooting a deer that's not going to be, man, I got a couple that I'm after that are definitely big enough for this, but
so are you?
I don't want to shoot anything under 150 this year if I can help it. I mean, I know I can. It's going to be hard. So a nice big 140 comes through. Don't get me wrong. It's really hard not to.
Are you
this gun season?
Are you emphasize on rack size, or is it the mature buck aspect?
It's the mature buck aspect too. I mean, obviously, big racks always get me excited, but I had shot like the 10 point I shot last year. He's not the highest scoring deer, but it's almost like a double main beam buck almost, where he grew some funky junk all over the backside of his rack, and he's just like a palmated side out. It's really cool. Then he got a nice long typical side on the other side. So I mean, character bucks that are mature are always fun to shoot, no matter what the score.
Yeah, it's always exciting getting that and getting a big rack walking in front of you. But I feel like myself personally, I get just as excited if I see an old 5, 6, 7-year-old buck come cruising through the woods. Like that to me is just as exciting as the big racks. But it's a fun time out there, man. That's what I live for. It's definitely my passion. And with the last few guys I talked to, like yourself, you can definitely tell that's what they do too. They live for it, so it's super cool.
Well, in the last 3 seasons, I shot 4 bucks here in Michigan. I got 3 seasons ago. I got two 4-year-olds, a 10 point and an 8 point. The 10 point wasn't the biggest rack deer, but he wasn't the smallest either. 8 point was super nice, 130 something. And last year's wasn't even, I don't know if he even scored 130 or 120 just because of his funky side, but really cool over and on. I mean, huge basins, master for days. So, and then obviously this year's buck is nice and big. So But the difference in the 4-year-old to the one I shot this year, which was aged at 6.5, by Steve Snap, that owns Snap's Taxidermy, in Michigan here, told me he's 6.5 years old, judging off his teeth. And it's just crazy, just a difference in the size of the skull and everything from a 4 to a 6-year-old as well. It's pretty impressive. It's my first deer over 4 years old. So
yeah, the mass that you get even at the base coming off the antler to the skull connection is significantly different. It's wild.
It really is. They do make a big jump from 4 to 5, and 5 and 6, and the 5, 6, and 7. I'd say they're obviously going to be their 3 best years. I know for a fact they start usually going on their decline, usually 8 to 9 for sure, because I hunted that deer in Michigan that was shot 3 seasons ago, maybe 4. He was 9.5 years old, and he scored 199 and 7/8, and he was bigger years before. So
that's wild.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
They're definitely there. They're out here.
Ton of huge deer coming out of the south part of the state lately.
Yeah, that deer. I think a kid shot yesterday, the day before, was rumored to be out of Ingham County, but I heard it was from Fremont, Michigan. I'm not sure about the story yet, but that deer is definitely pushing, the 200 mark.
Yeah, I think that's when we talked, the drop tine buck.
Yeah, he has 2 drop tines. He still has some velvet on his right side there. I've seen 2 different pictures of him now. He's pretty damn big.
Yeah, there's been some studs. We went and looked at Jerome Market. Just looked at the deer that came into there, and it was impressive. There was some whoppers coming in, which is good. It gets me excited for Michigan's age class, because if you just you take a time shot of the last 5 years, and you take the number from 5 years ago to the number of big bucks now, it's growing. There's no question about it. But it's
with technology advancements, we have trail cameras, and there's trail cameras in every single woodlot down here in southern Michigan. Guaranteed there's more than one. So people know what's running around. People are starting to realize, that there's bigger bucks and they will hold out more.
Yep, I think
I'm hoping. That's what I believe is happening, and I'm hoping that's what's happening because I want to see the trend keep going upwards. Bigger bucks are obviously better to hunt.
Seeing is believing, obviously. So if you see them, it'll definitely give you those hopes to hold out. So I got you there.
Right.
It's walking in that unknown. You don't know what's coming behind that little 2.5-year-old, so they just shoot it. But unknown to them, there's a 165-inch 10 coming to 150 yards back if they just waited.
Yeah.
So it's definitely growing in Michigan. So I'm excited for it. I know a lot of guys I talk to are, their strategies are changing. The whole COVID thing this last year, we talked about that in the last podcast, but man, the woods are crazy.
There's a lot more hunters this year.
There's people everywhere.
Sure.
So, we covered pretty much everything. Anything you'd add to any guys trying to get permission or hunting private land other than don't shoot the first one you see?
Well, with everything you hear these days, guns are bad, blah, blah, people are getting their guns taken away. Some people are just scared about gun hunting in general. What usually comforts some of the private landowners I hunt on is I'm pretty much tell them, I'm strictly a bow hunter. I'm going to be out here with my bow, so you're not going to have to worry about that. And it seems to comfort them. They kind of like that. Plus, they kind of like the idea of a guy out there bow hunting. I think it makes them think, like, this guy is a true hunter. I don't know. I've seen that reaction on people's faces multiple times now because I'll be out there bow hunting, even jumping out of my truck, throwing on orange, and walking out with, quiver full of arrows in my bow. It just makes me feel good.
I get that look all the time.
It makes them a little more comfortable as well.
That look of, why are you carrying a bow in gun season? It's a good one.
Yeah, a lot of times those people are like, they don't want people shooting their guns that they don't really know behind their house or just carrying them on their property in general. Some people are just a little weird about that. So, just saying that you bow hunt even if you want hope to gun hunt in the future, maybe you are a gun hunter and you love it,
Yeah.
but hopes of gun hunting in the future, it's just getting your foot in the door. If that's what it takes. I mean, maybe possibly open up a relationship with them, stay close to the landowner, and you never know what permissions you could get later.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you maintaining relationships? Do you help them out on properties and stuff like that, or just kind of stay friends?
Definitely. I used to only be able to hunt one place, for example, the week after gun season. That's how it went. Every year you can hunt it. It's a great spot, but I could never hunt bow season. I could only hunt the second week of gun season. I started hunting that time. But it was a year of change is that he needed some work on his barn, and my dad, grew up building pole barns, so I went there and I fixed his barn up for him and gave him permission to bow hunt. And I've been bow hunting there ever since, for every year for like the last 5 years.
That's awesome.
So definitely, if they need some help and you can help, you better help because they will remember that.
Yeah, that's definitely it. Being nice goes a long ways. It's lending a helping hand.
I'm pretty sure this new property I got, I'm gonna, I'm helping clear some fence rows underneath the horse fencing and stuff. So their electric fence doesn't get shorted out and grounded out. So I mean, just helping them maintain a fence line or anything, just lend a hand if they talk about something they want to get done or anything. If you feel like you can help, speak up, help.
Yeah, definitely. Remember it. That's definitely the best way to go about it. I'm with you on that piece. So super cool. Well, I appreciate you talking, man. I don't think we got much more to cover. You covered killing some slobs. That's definitely what you've been doing. So keep at it.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep at it for sure. Like I said, I'm still after one more. He's got me interested, and he's a big buck. So stay tuned. Maybe I can take him and get on your podcast and talk about the next one.
Let's do it. Sounds like
all right.
All right, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. You have a good one, okay?
You too, Brian.
All right.
Thank you.
See ya.
All right, see ya.